Do you ever feel like you're the only person playing a new game? Like somehow out of the millions of people who play games, you were the only one who actually cared about this one? It's just you and a couple Twitch streamers with #ad in the title. It's a pretty strange feeling. In totally unrelated news, today we'll be playing through LEGO Horizon Adventures, released last week on PS5, PC, and Switch. And as I talk about my thoughts on the game, I will also be walking you through my Platinum Trophy playthrough, so let's get right into it. For stage 1 of this Platinum journey, we will simply be playing through the main story. LEGO Horizon Adventures features the LEGOized retelling of 2017's Horizon Zero Dawn. Fans of that game will be familiar with the story notes and characters here, however this game features a much more lighthearted tone. First we meet Rost and the young outcast girl he raises away from the village. Thankfully, LEGO baby Aloy is slightly less terrifying than real baby Aloy. After Aloy grows up, she wants to learn where she came from, so she embarks to a place called Mother's Heart. We get our first bit of gameplay here, and right off the bat I was pretty impressed by the visuals in the game. I think it would be fair to say this is the best looking LEGO game ever, especially its lighting. And keep in mind, all the footage you see is played in performance mode, so it could look even better if you bumped up to fidelity mode. Kinda thought it was funny that a LEGO game even has this option, but hey, I guess it is fitting for a Horizon game. The first level is a basic tutorial, but it ends with our first fight with a machine. I immediately really liked how the combat felt. They did a pretty good job of translating that feeling of shooting specific weak points and knocking off machine parts, even though it is understandably much more simplified here. After this fight, we see that Tirsa, the lady we needed to talk to, has been kidnapped and we have to help. We get our first trophy here as we enter Mother's Heart for the first time. This is our hub world that we will constantly return to. It's here that we can buy upgrades and enter new levels. There is also a world building mechanic where the land becomes filled with more people and buildings as the story progresses. There are a lot of customization options here as well if that's your thing. For now though, we are going to continue the story. At the end of the next level, we save tab and get a trophy for collecting our first gold brick. We'll be getting one of these at the end of most main levels. Continuing on, we climb our first tall neck for another trophy. Then we save Varl and unlocked him as a playable character. After that, we have a big fight with a corruptor machine and are able to save Tirsa. This leads us to the Sacred Mountain, where we learn about Elizabeth, who is seen as a goddess. She tells Aloy that the villains of the story are planning world destruction and she is the only one who can stop it. Aloy has to find the weapons left by Elizabeth to take them down. If this story feels like it's moving a bit too quickly, you're not alone. I think the developers struggled to cram all of Zero Dawn's very long story into this shorter experience. There is a lot of information to throw at you extremely quickly. It can definitely make the story feel a bit jumbled. If you've played Zero Dawn before, you'll be fine and can piece it together pretty easily, but I imagine someone jumping into Horizon's world for the first time would probably have absolutely no clue what the hell is going on. Before moving on to the next world, I bought some upgrades and landed the trophy for buying 10 of them. As we move forward in the story, we now have to find the different weapon parts scattered throughout the world, and this is where the fatigue started to set in a bit for me here. The game is quite linear and very repetitive. You start up a level, walk through it, reach this point with the chest where you get special weapons, fight some enemies, and then you get a gold brick. After that, you are teleported back to Mother's Heart where you can buy upgrades and customize. Then you start up another level and the cycle repeats. The game is fun enough that I didn't necessarily want to stop playing, but it really could have used more variety. I think whether you are a LEGO game fan or a Horizon fan, you will find yourself disappointed by the linearity and repetition. Along our trek through the mountain, we find Aaron, the last unlockable character. At the end of this chapter, we find ourselves in a cauldron, and this was my favorite part of the game so far. They did a really great job making the cauldrons feel the way they felt in the original game. I could picture exactly how it was in Zero Dawn as I traveled through, and seeing this particular area recreated by LEGO bricks was a lot more effective than some of the more open areas that came before it. Many of the other levels are just jungles or deserts or snowy mountains. They don't necessarily feel like Horizon, rather just basic backdrops. But these cauldron sections nailed that Horizon vibe. After a boss fight with a Thunderjaw, we get 2 trophies for finishing the chapter and completing the first cauldron. For the next chapter of the game, we head to the jungle to find machine parts. The game continues on with much of the same pattern here. I will say though, as the game goes on, the combat continues to get better and better. As you progress, you will unlock new items and gadgets that add variety to each fight. I also liked how the weaponry had a mix of new goofy LEGO stuff such as a hot dog cart that shoots explosives, combined with things that you will recognize from the Horizon games such as the Tripcaster. The combat really is the best part of the game, and it's the main thing that kept me going. I'm not sure if that's more of a compliment to the combat or an insult to the rest of the game though. Either way, we made it through the chapter and got the last machine part we needed. For the next main chapter, we need to clear corruption on the path to taking down the final boss. While making my way through the desert, I got 2 trophies here for unlocking every weapon and every gadget. Meanwhile, it was this chapter that made me realize exactly why the game feels so repetitive. It's not just the constant entering and re-entering of levels or the similar beat points throughout, but the actual objectives of each level within chapters are often the exact same. On top of that, almost every level in this chapter ends with the same exact cutscene of Aloy clearing the corruption. It's one thing to have similar objectives, but making me watch the same cutscene 4 or 5 times is gonna make it stick out so much worse. About halfway through this chapter, we complete our 3rd cauldron for a trophy. Then we climb our 3rd tall neck for another trophy. Finally, we make it to the end of this chapter where we take down the boss. With all of the weapons, machine parts, and metal flowers we've collected, it's now time to take on the final boss of the game, the Deathbringer. This fight was pretty good, I enjoyed it. It's simple, having you shoot specific parts of the machine to give you chances to damage it, but it was effective and felt like a good combination of everything the game had taught me so far. With the Deathbringer defeated, we get the trophy for completing the last chapter, and at the same time got another trophy for obtaining our 20th unlockable for the hub world. The land is saved, Aloy gets her happy ending with Elizabeth acting as the mother figure she hoped for, and they all hold a dance party to celebrate. And just like that, the main story of LEGO Horizon Adventures is complete. This was an incredibly short experience, only taking me around 5 hours. I am usually not one to complain about game length, but just 5 hours for a $60 game is a bit egregious, especially since I did not rush through it at all. I explored a decent amount and spent time in the hub world, so if you really wanted to, you could easily finish this game even quicker than that. Thankfully though, our time with the game isn't quite over yet, because now it's time for stage 2 of the Platinum. Stage 2 is a quick one, with us taking on the Apex machine hunts. These are mini combat challenges found in each level we had gone through previously. They primarily consist of taking on some enemies and a mini boss to earn yourself a red brick at the end. There actually aren't any trophies directly tied to this, but we need to complete them to unlock other things that will be necessary later. After finishing my last machine hunt, I had a ton of new customization options unlocked and a whole lot of money to spend. First, I bought 75 different outfits. Then, 75 decorations for the hub world. With our shopping spree complete, it's now time for the longest grind of the Platinum, Stage 3. Stage 3 is going to primarily consist of having to level each character to max level, which is level 20. Thankfully, there are only 4 playable characters, so this shouldn't take too insanely long. Along the way, I grabbed my 50th gold brick for a trophy. I got this last one from a community board challenge. I haven't mentioned this mechanic yet, but it's essentially mini challenges and objectives you can complete throughout levels and the hub world for extra gold bricks. Continuing on with the level grind now, you will notice that I connected an extra controller to have a second character leveling up at the same time. This will speed up the process significantly, and I definitely recommend using this method or you may actually lose your mind. I finally got Aloy to level 20, which was our first character maxed out. As I was grinding out characters, I was also going for some of those community board challenges, and eventually got the last one we needed for 20 different jobs completed. At this point, the rest of the Platinum is just maxing out the final characters, so I think now is a perfect time to give my complete thoughts on the game. In many ways, LEGO Horizon Adventures confuses me. I'm not really sure who this game is supposed to be for. Obviously, your first thought is that the game is for Horizon fans or LEGO game fans, but as I mentioned earlier, I think both groups will find themselves disappointed here. For a Horizon fan hopping in, they will miss the exploration found in Horizon's open world. LEGO Horizon is very linear, shuffling you through different locales and areas without any connectivity. The tall necks are a perfect example. I will never forget climbing my first tall neck in Zero Dawn. It was such a beautiful and impactful moment as you climbed up the machine, each part being interactive as you made your way up. Once you reach the top, you see the glorious view of the open world below you. Meanwhile, in LEGO Horizon, you reach the tall neck by being shuffled through different sections until eventually reaching a tall enough area where you can jump on its head. That's it. Additionally, I think the hub world was a missed opportunity to give more chances for dialogue like you would expect from a Horizon game. I'm not asking for thousands of lines of dialogue like the original Zero Dawn has, that's a ridiculous expectation, but a few conversations here and there would have been nice, and it would have helped break up the repetitive gameplay. Instead, the characters just repeat the same 1 or 2 quips as you enter and re-enter the same levels over and over again. But okay, I hear what you're thinking. This is a LEGO game after all. Maybe I'm expecting way too much here. But honestly, I think a LEGO game fan would come away with many of the same conclusions. There is a shockingly small amount of content here when compared to other LEGO games, even those from many years ago. Anyone who has platinumed other LEGO games before knows that those games are crammed full of different collectibles to find and usually feature tons of unlockable characters to play as. LEGO Horizon only has 4 characters and doesn't really have any collectibles at all. There's just nothing to find in this game, no real collectibles or rewards for going off the beaten path. Exploring will always end up with you finding one of 2 things, either a chest containing money and ammo, or you will find a random object to build that gives you some money. There's never anything else to find. This lack of reward for searching around felt truly bizarre for both a LEGO game and a Horizon game. It's not all bad though. There were some things I liked about this game. As I mentioned before, the combat was really good here. They nailed the feeling of knocking off specific machine parts, and there are a lot of different weapons to use. This diversity in weapons is something that I associate pretty heavily with the Horizon franchise, so that was great to see. Another one of my favorite parts was seeing all of of the LEGO versions of the different machines. They fit the LEGO aesthetic perfectly. Honestly though, the whole time I was playing this game, it was just making me want to play normal Horizon again, which I guess is kind of the point. But I mean, I'm someone who has already played Horizon. I'm not sure it would have had that effect on me if I was a newcomer to the franchise like Sony is hoping. Overall, LEGO Horizon Adventures is a fine game that I would recommend once it hits $40 or $30 or maybe $20. Matter of fact, maybe just wait for it on PS Plus. I don't know, I just cannot possibly tell you to go out and buy this game for $60. That is way too expensive. It seems obvious to me that this game was made pretty quickly without a massive budget, so I would say the devs did the best they could. But in the end, LEGO Horizon Adventures feels like a miss as both a LEGO game and a Horizon game, and one that I wouldn't go near in this current state unless you're an absolute mega super fan of one of those two things. I think I've said everything I want to say about the game now, and that's good timing as I'm just about to max out the last character needed for the platinum. After 4 hours that felt more like an eternity of replaying the same levels over and over again, I finally got Aaron to level 20, the last character needed, and the LEGO Horizon Platinum trophy was mine. Despite my issues with the game itself, I don't regret going for this platinum at all. It was short and simple, and sometimes it's nice to have a platinum experience like that. If you've played LEGO Horizon Adventures, I would love to hear your thoughts about it in the comments below. Thanks for watching.